Okay, right, so here's my pastry that I did earlier. So I made this yesterday and I put it in the fridge overnight, and I put it in the fridge when I came into work this morning. So I'm going to show you how to do two things. So I'm actually going to cut my pastry in half first of all. Okay, actually makes it easier if you cut it in half because it's quite a big lump of pastry. Okay, so cut it in half first. Okay, and you can actually see there the layers. Yeah, you see that? So they're the layers that I made with my pastry making yesterday. So put the join underneath and you're going to roll it out exactly as you have before. So you're going to roll it. Now I would suggest you think about some of those rules about making pastry, and I would try and roll one way. Okay, so you need to keep moving it around a quarter of a turn each time. Whatever you do, do not turn it over. You don't turn pastry over, especially this pastry. Now, if you get a little bit of fat oozing, right, then just put some flour on it. Yeah, and you're going to roll it till it's about ½ centimetre thick. Okay, so keep rolling it till you think you've got the correct thickness. If it's too thick, especially when you're making something like Eccles cakes or sausage rolls, what will happen is that the pastry will expand and the filling will sort of, with sausage rolls, literally jump out, so you don't want that to happen. So, right, so that's about thick enough. So I'm going to start with sausage rolls. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this pastry. Okay, now you need some sausage meat. Now I didn't get sausage meat, I bought some sausages from my local farm shop where I normally shop. So I'm just trimming that, not taking loads off, just so that it's more of a rectangle. Right, so I bought some sausages. So what I've done is, and I'll just show you now, I've slit the sausage and you just remove the skin. So can you see that? And then just put that to one side to get rid of it. So I'm going to I quite like using sausages because all you have to do is roll them. So I'm going to do, remember you're going to have double what I've got, and I'm just going to put the sausage meat on the pastry like that. Now I've got 4 sausages, and that one's actually quite small, so I'll just use that. And then you want to join those 2 joins together. Okay, right, and then you're going to need a pastry brush and you're going to need some water. And I thought I was really prepared here and had everything I needed, but I seem to have lost my pastry brush. Never mind, I'll get another one. So you're going to wet down the edge there and you're going to wet the other side. Okay, so can you see? Wet there, and then you're going to roll the pastry as tight as you can around the sausage meat. Okay, press it in if it's pushed out a bit, and then you're going to cut it. Okay, now what you've got to remember is that needs to be underneath that join. Okay, it's really important that that goes underneath, and then with a pair of scissors, snip. Okay, so you snip all along, and then you just cut this into the size that you want. Trim the very end off. Okay, so you've got a nice neat edge, and then I would suggest that that was cut in half, and you've got a fairly big sausage roll if you want it, or cut it in half again, so we've got quarters. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. And then when they're ready, and I'll just show you again how to do it, I'm going to put it onto a tray, which I'm going to sprinkle some water on. I'm just going to roll that slightly thinner, and I'm going to sprinkle some water on, and then I'm going to I don't need all of that, and then I'm going to put into, it'll go into a hot oven. I won't have time to cook these today, but the water will create steam, which will help the pastry rise. Okay, so same thing, wet the edge. Okay, and then you're going to start rolling the pastry around the sausage meat as tightly as you can. So what you need to do is you need to go underneath that bottom edge, so you've folded it over. Okay, so I'm going to trim it, don't need that, roll it so that the pastry is on the underneath. Yep, and then you could use a knife or a pair of scissors. So if you use a knife, just do slashes like that, cut it in half, cut it in half again. Okay, and then they're going to go on a tray. Now I'm going to use some baking parchment on my tray, and the reason I'm going to use baking parchment is that both these recipes have a tendency to stick. So I'm just going to use a piece of baking parchment, not the best cut, onto the tray. Right, now to get that to stick, if you just wet the tray a bit, that should stick. And then put your sausage rolls onto the tray, making sure that you leave plenty of space between them, because they're going to expand, and you make sure you don't want them to stick together. So actually it might be better doing it that way. So I've got 8. Now I've got half my recipe, remember, so you would have 8 large, 16 small. Okay, so just remember that you might have a few more. If like that you haven't got enough lines on, that's fine. And then what you can do is you can brush those with egg, or egg and milk. I'm actually not going to do that because I prefer not to have the egg and the milk on the top. Okay, that's just because I've got a fussy husband. Right, so the next recipe, and this is one of my favourite ones to make, is, I'm just going to wipe my hands. I've got a clean cloth that I haven't used because I'm in the storeroom and I haven't got a sink. Okay, right, so I'm going to make Eccles cakes. So Eccles cakes are quite traditional. Eccles is a place in Greater Manchester, and it's famous for all these currant cakes. Okay, it can use sultanas, but traditionally Eccles cakes are made with currants. So in this mixing bowl I've got 50 grams of butter and 50 grams of caster sugar and a teaspoon of mixed spice. So I've actually got half a teaspoon of mixed spice and half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, because that's just the way we like it. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mix all that together. And then in here I've got currants. I should have 200 grams. I've got slightly less because I've run out, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so currants go into the bowl, and then with your wooden spoon you're literally going to mix that together. Now sometimes recipes say melt the butter and the sugar and then add the currants, and I find if you do that, when you're cooking, all the fat oozes out and you get quite a dry mix. So I'm not going to do that. And then you can literally just mix that with your hands and put that to one side. Okay, so that's the Eccles cake mixture. You'll need some sugar and you'll need some milk or even egg white. Okay, so I'm going to roll out my pastry again, just like I did before. Hang on, I've got to be careful here because I'm going to run out of flour. So be very, very careful. So remember that join, make sure it's on the bottom. And you're going to roll your pastry, trying to remember the rules about rolling out. So roll one way, short, sharp movements, quarter of a turn each time. Don't turn over, okay? And don't hold it up as if it was washing going on a line. Okay, and if you've got a big piece that you want to turn or you want to use, then just roll it round your rolling pin. Okay, so there I've got now my flaky pastry. It needs rolling a bit thinner. If you think back to when you made rough puff pastry, I found when I did it with the 2 classes I had, it was very, very messy, and that when they actually used it to make their fish pie, the results weren't particularly good. It didn't puff up like it should have done. So I think that if you can make flaky pastry, I think it's more skillful than rough puff, because if you think about it, you've got all that rolling and folding and putting the fat on and turning it and sealing it, and it's just more skillful. Okay, right, so it's nearly the thickness I want it, so just do a little bit more. Now this time you don't need to trim and make it into a rectangle, you just need to, you're going to cut it into circles. Okay, now you need a cutter, and I forgot to bring a big cutter. School don't have big cutters, and I forgot to bring my big cutter, so I'm actually using a little basin. Okay, and I'm just going to cut round the little basin, and you can do this with just a normal table knife like I'm doing, or you can use it, let me just take that back a little bit, or you can use it, you can press down or use a sharp knife. Okay, so just go round and you get your 4 circles. You'll probably get 8. Right, so you need about a 5 or a 6 inch cutter, but you know, like me, you could just use a saucer, or if you've got a big mug, we have the gigantic big coffee mugs, cappuccino mugs, they're brilliant for something like this. So you need your 4 pieces now, or your 8 pieces, whatever you've got. Now you've got pastry left over, so what you do with this is, don't chuck it away, you then get your pastry, any bits you've got left over, just put that there. I've got a few more bits here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to layer these, so you're going to fold it over. You see I'm just piling the pastry on. I've not put it into a ball and re-kneaded it, I've just put it into layers, and I'm literally just going to turn those layers over, and then that's smooth. You can then roll that out again and make some more, but I wouldn't roll it out more than once. Okay, so let's get on to the Eccles cake. So I've got my circles, and what I'm going to do now is I've got my mixture, and I'm going to use my hands. Right, I'm going to put a blob, because you can squeeze this better. Okay, so I've got this blob of mixture, so that's my currants and my sugar and my spice, and I'd say they're about the size of a table tennis ball. Yeah, the smaller your circle, obviously you're going to have to reduce the size of the blob of currants and butter mixture. Okay, so squeeze it together. These get pressed out anyway, so I wouldn't worry that you're thinking this doesn't look right. Okay, and this mixture will make 8, between 8 and 10. Okay, so that goes like that. I've got some mixture left there, so I'm just going to move it out the way. Water around the edge. Okay, all the way around the edge. And then when you've wet all the way around the edge, you're going to pull the pastry over, and you're going to make a parcel. Okay, and you need to make sure that all those edges are wet so that you can seal it, and then you're going to press it down. Okay, now I really could do with a little tiny bit of flour here. There we go. So press that down and flatten it, and you want to try and keep it round. Okay, and then I've got another tray, another piece of paper, and I'm just going to put my Eccles cakes on there. Okay, so my first Eccles cake, so I'm going to do it exactly the same to the others. Just make sure that you are pulling this, right, and then you're pressing down. You can actually use this sort of method to make like little parcels if you wanted, and you could make quite a thick sauce that you put into the fridge and it sets, and you could maybe put chicken or mushrooms or something in like that, and then you could make it into like little chicken parcels. Quite nice if you're doing a buffet, and you do exactly the same. The only thing you would do is when you're pressing it down, you'd have to take a little bit more care, because you wouldn't want it to all ooze out. Okay, so that's that. And then the last one, let me bring this forward. So now I've got all my mixture there, and I'm going to press it down. Okay, and then, and this is the most important thing, you need to slice it. Right, I'm not very organised here, I'm not used to working in the confines of a storeroom. Right, so you're going to make 3 slits across the top, and that's really important because that's where steam's going to escape. If you don't make these cuts, you'll end up, your Eccles cakes explode, and I can tell you now they're not very nice when they're exploded. Right, so when you put this into the oven, same with the sausage rolls, you're going to wet the tray. Just sprinkle some cold water on the tray. That goes into a preheated oven about 200 degrees C, 210, so that's about gas mark 6, gas mark 7, depending on really how hot your oven is. And then they take about 20 minutes to half an hour. So what I would do is I'd cook it for 20 minutes, have a look at it, and when the pastry's cooked, it'll be lovely and golden brown. I forgot to do something here. Right, so the next thing you do with Eccles cakes is you brush it with milk or egg white. So I just bought some milk, and then you sprinkle caster sugar over the top, and that's your that goes into the oven, and that gives you a lovely crispy top. So as I was saying, it'll be lovely and golden brown, and it shouldn't look greasy. Okay, and if you think it's not right, then just leave it for another 5-10 minutes, and then you could reduce the heat. Your sausage roll's the same, cook it till the pastry's cooked. The sausage meat takes longer, so when the pastry's golden, it doesn't look greasy, reduce the heat to 160 or gas mark 4 and cook for another 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how thick they are. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off.